So welcome back to part 4. What we're going to be talking about in this video, I wanted to save kind of like the best for last with part 4. The questions that I grouped together here were all about tips for new traders, tips for scalpers, and the most important thing that I would recommend to somebody for them to think about before taking an entry. And at its fundamental level, all of those questions can be addressed with the same concept. So I wanted to start there and then we'll kind of branch off into the individual questions themselves. But if you're new and you haven't seen part 1, 2, or 3, make sure you go back and watch those because we covered a lot of important information. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, make sure you give me a big thumbs up to help us spread the value, and that way you don't miss any of the future videos yourself. So, like I said, the fundamental concept that I think all of these questions can be addressed with is the idea of having a tested and unique edge that you can implement every single day in the market. And with that edge, I think you need detailed entry, exit, take profit, and stop loss levels. And on top of that, your cherry on your ice cream sundae should be a risk management system predetermined for that strategy, for that edge. If you have that, then as a new trader, you're going to lose way less than someone that doesn't have that. For example, me, when I came into trading, I didn't know what a system was. I didn't know what rules were. I didn't understand anything like that. In my mind, trading was like a glorified gambling. It was just easier to do because I didn't have to go to the casino. That's the way that I saw it. You know what I mean? Just my way to get out, to be financially free, to not be average. I didn't know the requirements that were, needed to be successful in this business. And now I'm sharing with you guys, I think the number one thing that you should try to implement is that system, that detailed entry, detailed stop loss, detailed take profit, all of it predetermined. So every time it presents, you know it's tested and you know that you can put money into it. If I had that, I would have saved myself so much money. So my tip for new traders is to go find that system, whether you build it yourself or you go find someone like me or whoever it is that tested a system and is sharing it, that's fine too. And then you can build your own later on. You can modify. The unique thing about trading with the ASFX systems is how every trader that's come into our group has taken the systems and run with it in their own way. Now, they're not completely out in left field playing ice hockey. They're in left field ready to catch a pop fly, but it isn't the same exact pop fly that I would catch if it's me trading. I know that's not the best analogy, but what I'm trying to say is they're trading the same system with the same knowledge, but the parameters, the risk, the edge might be slightly different, and that's the beautiful thing about a proven system, because it really isn't something that's so precise. It's more of a way to read the chart. It's a way to read the language of trading and what the chart is telling you. Now, something else I want to talk about, because I think it addresses the tips for scalpers and the tips for new traders, is reacting, not predicting. If you try to predict with your trades, what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up on the wrong side of every position. I'm sure that's happened to you before, where every time you buy it, it seems to go down and stop you out. And every time you sell it, it seems to go higher and stop you out. So what can we do to avoid that? Well, I think it starts with the idea of accepting that you have to only react to what the market is telling you, not try to predict, oh, it's off the 8 EMA, let me buy it because I know it has to go back. No. It's off the 8 EMA because it's falling, and you should be trying to sell it, riding that trend. So really, what I'm saying is not so much just react, don't predict. Almost as a new trader or a scalper, stay in trend. It's way easier to scalp in trend than it is counter trend. I'm somebody like, again, today, EuroCAD. I scalped it twice after my initial entry. That's because it was in trend and it's easy to do once you're in trend. So my tip would be, if you're scalping it, or if you're just a new trader, stay in trend. It's going to make it just more probable for you. You might have less trades overall, but it's going to be way more probable. You're going to win more, you're going to win bigger, and that's what you need as a new trader. I want to make sure we also touch on the idea of at least bagging winners. Like, as a new trader, you want to win, put money in the bag, put money in your account, withdraw the money, and spend it. Some of it, not all of it. You should be trying to grow the account to as big as you can, but to take out $1,000, to take out $5,000 and go on a trip here or there as you're growing is required. If you're talking to me, if you're watching my videos, if you look at me, you need to do that. You need to know what it feels like to have that reward, because that motivates you. I wish I would have done that sooner as a new trader. So that's another tip for new people. Kind of tying into the idea of the most important thing to remember when taking an entry, the question that was also asked was, how do you set up a trading plan? The trading plan is built around the edge. It's built around the entries, the exits, the rules that you're using to trade. So again, it comes back to the system. So once you have the system, I think what a lot of the growth then comes from is within. It's personal. So you have to do a lot of self-development, which means continued learning, and that starts with a growth mindset, which means you want to be able to go into every situation open-minded, always looking for opportunity, never being negative, and also always learning, always trying to learn from your own mistakes, your own successes, always trying to learn from reliable outside sources. Those kinds of things, I think, as a new trader, really do put lighter fluid on your fire almost. And if you find the right people, to find the right mentorship, the right accountability, it can change the game. For me, if I had just told someone my rules and asked for more accountability when I started, I think it would have been way more successful, because somebody would have been coming to me and said, hey, let's say I told let's just call a friend Steve, an imaginary friend Steve. I'd be like, hey Steve, could you do me a favor? I'm having an issue sticking to my rules. Here are my rules. This is the sheet I should be following. Can you check on me at the end of the week and just ask me how my rules went? Because no one's going to ask me unless I ask them to ask me. But could you do that for me, Steve? And by doing that, if I had taken that step a little sooner, I think it would have made me more successful. So if you're a new trader, find that accountability partner. Find someone that you can go to say, hey, can you just check in on me? We might not trade the same way, but can you check in on me and see if I'm doing this? Hold me accountable to these rules. Because if I'm too greedy, if I'm focused on the money too much, I'm going to break from these rules. I'm going to break my edge. And I need you to call me on my bullshit so I get better, so I grow, so I do better in the future, because I want to make this work. If you want to make this work. If you want to gamble, don't do that. Don't be accountable. Just keep throwing money in the market. Or better yet, Venmo me. I will do better with the money than the market guys will. They're just going to buy another beach house or whatever. So right now as I'm filming, we're on Instagram Live, and one of the questions that just came in is really good. I want to kind of end the video here with this. Someone asked, you preach always sticking to your rules and sticking to your system, but today, this guy saw I traded Euro CAD, even though the Asian range was blown out, it was huge, it was 600 something pips, and that made average daily range also blown out. So two of my rules that I've talked about in other YouTube videos, that's how he knew about it, which is awesome, and I appreciate him listening. Two of my rules were broken, and yet I still traded and had my biggest day of the year today. So how did that happen? Why did that happen? Why did I still break the rules? The reason is because when you have a system and you have rules and they're tested and proven profitable, it doesn't always mean that it's binary as far as yes or no. These rules can be used to gauge probabilities. So I could say, I'm going to buy EuroCAD today, even though the Asian range is blown out, even though ADR is also maxed out. I think that there's still juice in this to retest high of day. And that was my thought today. So it's not that I was breaking my rules. I acknowledged them. I knew that they weren't perfect. But everything else in the setup made sense. So it wasn't a setup that I would have put all of my risk into. I didn't put 4% on it. I put 2% on it. So because it wasn't perfect, because of that Asian range issue, because of the ADR issue, I didn't hit it with an A grade. I hit it with a B grade instead. And that was following the fundamental idea of using equities to say, US markets are going to get slammed today because of this oil thing. We're going to try to buy it and make money long. And that's what I was fundamentally following, to then say, yeah, some of the parameters aren't great, but I'm still going to take the risk reward here. And that's the evolution of a system. It's not something that comes to you the first day you see your system. You need to practice it, implement it, and use it every day to get to the level of being able to say, yeah, I can read the risk reward there and it's worth the size. Yeah, I read the risk reward there and it's worth less size. Yeah, I read that risk reward and I'm not going to take that. That kind of confidence and that kind of discipline and knowledge only comes with experience. So for new traders, for scalpers, for people trying to build their trading plan, and for people trying to remember the most important thing before an entry that they should do, it starts with your system. And if you don't have one and you've listened to my 10-minute rant about it, you need to either speak to me, speak to someone else that has a proven, tested, and profitable system, because that's the first step. It is not the only step. You still need capital. You still need proper trading mentality. You still need these other things, trading psychology. You still need these other pieces that we have to work on. But the first step for anybody, scalper, new trader, old trader, fat trader, skinny trader, doesn't matter. First step is get a proven and tested system under your belt, at least one of them. Master that one and let more come to you in time. You'll build your own, or the person you're working with will teach you more as time goes on. But get that one system down and block out everybody else. A lot of new traders, they're on social media, they're seeing everybody else, they're looking, seeing what other people are doing and comparing their own life to it. Shut that crap off. There's no time for it. You don't have time for it. Your life is running out. All of us, our lives are running out. We need to move now. There's no reason to waste our time on petty, materialistic nonsense that exists in this day and age of appearance. Lock it down, block that out, and focus on what works, which starts with the system. So I hope you found value in today's video. I hope this ignites something in your brain to get you thinking on the right track. And I hope at least one person listening this far will actually go and implement something, putting them closer to using a system, taking one step closer to finding that profitable system. So again, make sure you give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Drop a comment. I appreciate it always. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos. And I'll catch you guys in the next trade video.